As Vicky walked home, the cold, crisp air soothed the aching throat. Small waves of steam escaped her lips to merge with the fog enveloping her. Grateful for the relief it gave her strained vocal cords, she forgot about the grueling day of cold calling strange people to sell them double glazing. She hated it, and hated the endless rude customers. She had walked through this park hundreds of times. Tonight it was empty of its usual throng of people. Perhaps it was the damp air and descending mist that kept them away. Either way, she felt alone. As the haze got thicker, her isolation grew, as did a feeling of vulnerability. The greyness smothered the park's lamps like a veil, weakening their effect. Its cloak slowly drifting over the small path that cut through the grass, which led to the large metal exit gates sitting opposite her home, only a few minutes away. It was only a short walk, a journey she had made most nights. It didn't usually matter that her parents told her time and time again to take the longer route home, using the main road. They had to be joking. It would take her an extra 15 minutes to get home. Now she wished she had taken their advice. Her steps slowed as the murkiness enclosed on her. They were wrong about the headphones, insisting she took the bloody things off as she walked because they invited danger. Now she needed them to steady her nerves in this lonely, daunting place. Anyway, how could they ask her to be parted from her precious usher? They just didn't understand. She imagined her father standing with the curtains pulled apart like he always did, waiting for her to come home safely, and a tight hug he would give her. Her mum would always have a delicious hot meal waiting. Vicky smiled. She had the sweetest parents in the world. No, she was young and it was only 9:30 p.m. What the hell? She had an MP3 player with Usher blaring down her ears to ease any worries. She could not see or hear the thing stalking her.
Ah, at last. The daughter of Adam is alone. She smells good. Must be quiet, not to be seen. The mist is my friend. Yes, at last I will nourish me.
The music was comforting. Closing her eyes, she let it flow through her soul, fantasizing about lying naked next to this gorgeous hunk as he serenaded her with his sweet voice. She didn't see the evil twisted face appearing from out of the mist, flashing in front of hers before disappearing back into the mist again.
No, this is not good. I sense no fear. She's blind to it.
It crept up behind her.
Where is the essence I need?
Following her, its fetid breath was just inches from the back of her neck.
Fear is the essence that gives me power, makes me stronger.
Its long, black snake-like tongue flicked out, tasting the air nearby.
Only then can I shed this weakness. I need fear. She's not right for the taking. Not yet.
It flew above her head, hovering like a corrupt kestrel.
Cannot nourish when she's not ripe. Must make her see me to scare her.
Her long blonde hair caressed her slender neck as she walked. A beautiful, tall 19-year-old. She could have been a successful model had she chose to be. Instead she studied, became a top-grade student, but for all her hard work it was wasted. Not reaching her full potential, instead of coming home from her intended career as a trainee lawyer, she came home from the job from hell. Like a dry sponge in a bath, she soaked up the music and the feelings it evoked, freeing her mind from the stress of work earlier. Visions of this gorgeous man excited every nerve of her body. His soft, sweet voice danced around her thoughts. Her thoughts turned to sex. She watched as his half-naked body gyrated sexily above hers, smiling at her as his hands slowly ran over his six-pack and then lowered down. Her breathing grew slower and deeper, her legs buckling with excitement as she walked. She could feel the moistness growing between her legs. Usher's hands worked slowly up towards his chest before reaching out to stroke her face. The slightest touch made her crotch tingle. His fingers moved gently down to caress her neck. At his touch she felt a sharp pain. It attacked her throat like she had been stabbed with a badly aimed syringe by an incompetent nurse. The sharp sting quickly passed, but it was enough to stop her fantasies, bring her back to reality. Opening her eyes, she instinctively touched her throat. It felt wet and sticky. The mist was so dense she had trouble seeing what the sticky mess was on her fingers. Looking closer, with Usher singing "Let It Burn," she jumped in shock. Her fingers were covered in blood. She screamed aloud, but no sound came. Her voice box had been severed. She screamed silently again, frozen with fear at what greeted her.
Do you see and feel me now, puny human?
It spoke silently to itself.
Yes, of course you do. Ah, this is perfect. So good that she cannot scream. Now I can take my time. Just a little scratch and her fear is coming already. I can feel it growing and it smells delish.
A face appeared from the mist, its red eyes burning deep into her soul. With its huge mouth wide open, it sprang at her ferociously. Recoiling in horror, she instinctively raised her hands to push away the offending sight, punching frantically. But it had already disappeared into the mist as quickly as it had appeared. Her hands hit emptiness. Running forwards, her heartbeat thumped in unison with the drumbeat that Usher still sang to. In the greyness she could see two laser-like eyes of the devil stalking her.
Ah, yes, delish. The fear surrounds me now. I'm bathing in it. Forgot how good it feels. Just a little bit more now. I will need all of it. Have not nourished for so long it makes me weak. It's almost time to feed.
Running faster now, she stumbled. Getting to her feet, she screamed again. Still no sound came. It wouldn't have mattered because there was no one nearby to witness her plight. Her eyes searched for a fleeting second. She felt relief. The red dots had gone, so she resumed looking forward, but her relief was short-lived as she felt a sting on the back of her neck and the warmth of her blood flowing down it. Instinctively, she swung round to see who was there, but only greyness confronted her. She felt another stab to the back of her neck. She did not look around. She concentrated on running. Memories of films flashed before her, a damsel in distress being chased, but always falling over to her doom. She would not let that fate happen to her, especially when her home was just yards away. Other memories flashed past. She saw her parents waiting for her, yearning for a big comforted hug. Instead, her dad turned towards her, growling angry, shouting at the top of his voice,
"Take the long way home and don't wear those bloody things on your head. They will be the death of you."
Her mind spun wildly, her father's warnings echoing around her brain. She wanted to scream out for him to save her from this monster toying with her, but she couldn't. Something flashed. It looked like a knife as it passed her eyes, striking the side of her face. Wetness poured down her cheeks. She was unsure if it was from the wound or the tears she cried. Her lungs ached, burning with every breath she took. She knew she couldn't run much further. It seemed ironic. Usher still serenaded her in his sweet voice. Let it burn. It did.
At last, woman of clay, it's time for you to leave your mortal shell behind and depart this world you hold so dear in order to nourish me.
She ran as fast as she could, hardly able to see where she was going, her tears, blood and the mist clouding her vision. A small light appeared up ahead, growing brighter as she drew closer. She recognised it. It was the lantern that stood by the exit gates, which also sat a few yards directly opposite her house. She was almost home. A wave of relief and excitement surged through her whole body, causing her pace to quicken. Any pain disappeared as the thoughts of surviving the ordeal crept inside her mind. The lantern grew closer and brighter. Glimpses of the gates appeared up ahead as she swiped aside the mist cloaking her view.
Yes, it's time, human. So ripe, and your fear smells like sweet nectar.
The gates were now in full view, only 20 feet away. She could see the vague outline of lights from the road ahead and could even see the red rear lights of a car passing by. She raced on, her mind raced too. Where is that bastard? Where has he gone? Is it behind me? She dare not look behind. Closer now, her eyes strained through the mist. She saw the lights of her house through the greyness and the outline of a familiar figure. It was her father. She screamed for all her might, but he heard nothing. She waved frantically, but he saw nothing. Another set of red car lights came into view, but her mind and sight were fixed on the shadow of her father. The lights became brighter. At first she thought the car must be braking, but then a cold shiver of realisation hit her. How the hell could she see the rear lights of a car when they were driving along with only the side view visible to her? They were not lights at all. The bastard was in front of her and she was running straight into it. Stopping in an instant, she froze in terror at what she saw. It was so close she could smell its hot, putrid breath. Her tortured body gave up and accepted its fate. Her eyes looked past the red haze growing in front of her to watch as her father stood at the window, still waiting for his beloved. He gave one last look and began to close the curtains. It seemed fitting as the beast struck.
Ah, delish. She tastes so sweet, so good. Now must find a place to hide before his light comes to hurt me.